Hi everyone, welcome back to my channels. Now today we're going to start a series of videos in collaboration with Bella Vista RV out of Oro Medonte and my two channels, RVing TV and at Bruno Tambari TV. As my second channel brings you DIY videos, RVing TV revolves around the RV lifestyle, and Bella Vista and I have come up with a couple of ideas to do some videos both for their customers and for you, our viewers. So I want to say thank you to Bella Vista RV for all the support they've provided. Now, they actually do all the servicing on our Denali fifth wheel for those things that you have not seen. And when I say servicing, I mean it's things like if I have a fridge issue, their technicians look after it. If I have an AC issue, they look after that. And we'll bring you a video on this as I have extended warranty, so you want to make sure you have a good relationship with your dealer. So Bella Vista RV and Oro Medonte and I have come together, and we're going to do a series of videos for those of you that are new to RVing and haven't had that experience, or maybe you've had an RV and it's been a while, whether you've purchased one from a dealer or you've purchased a used one. Today's video is going to be on your RV dump tanks. How do you hook up? How do you dump? What's involved? How complicated is it? Now, we're actually in, or I should say I'm actually in KOA in New York State camping, and I thought this was the perfect time to do this video rather than doing it on the dealer's lot and just hooking up in general. So today I'm going to show you what you typically need for basic equipment, how to hook it up, how you drain, and so you can see that it's a very clean way most of the time. If something does go wrong once in a while, it can get a little messy, but normally 99.9% of the times it's very clean, very easy to do. So with that being said, let's get started with some of the basics that you're going to need. We bring you fantastic RVs, detailed walkthroughs, upgrade tutorials, parts reviews, and even some automotive content. This is RVing TV. Now, for my RV, I carry an upgraded hose system. When you usually purchase your RV from a dealer or you walk in the first time, you may be tempted to scrimp and buy a starter kit or get some basic things. I like to say spend a little bit of money and spend it wisely and buy some good equipment, especially your hoses. So first thing, I like a good set of gloves. Now I do carry, I do carry a set of plastic gloves. You typically get these in your starter kit. I have a couple of pairs of those, but I actually find a good set of rubber dipped gloves or some heavy gardening gloves is always handy to have when you're working with your sewer hoses and sewer hookups. And I'm going to show you the basic equipment first, and then we're going to reposition the camera at different angles where you won't see me, you'll just hear me describing what I'm doing, but you're going to see the setup nice and close. Now, the reason I say spend a little bit of money, and I'll come up a little closer, is buy yourself a good set of hoses that are strong and thick and flexible. Now, a lot of the kits that you can buy will have either a 10-foot, 15 or 20-foot hose. But if you buy a little bit nicer kit, you'll actually get a kit that has two 10-foot hoses. And I like that because when you're in a campground situation like I am here, and I'm gonna step out of the way, and when you look at the setup here, because we're very close from our hookup down to our dump station here, I only need a 10-foot hose. So had I bought a 20-foot hose, we'd have a lot of hose sitting out here. So in this case, we can hook up half, and actually that's all we're going to need. But when you purchase a better kit, you're going to get a couple of things. And I'm going to show you here. So not only do you get two 10-foot hoses, but you will get the special caps that you can use when you store your hoses. You take your cap, place it, store it away. So even though you've rinsed the hose, any residual water, etc., is going to be kept inside. On the opposite end, you have a slightly different cap, but still a cap that goes on and keeps that all closed up, nice, neat for you. Now, I do recommend having something like a good tote, a plastic tote. That way, if you do happen to put your hoses in there and they happen to leak, it's all contained, right? Plus, storing it in your RV is going to keep it nice and neat. You can stack bins around it or on top or below it, and it just keeps you organized. Now, another item that you may want, I'm just going to reach back and grab it. This is completely optional, but does come in handy. Now, this is the Sidewinder by Camco. There's a number of these made under different brands, and basically all it is a sewer hose support. You can place your sewer hose here if you have a little bit of uneven ground, and it will actually keep the angle to the drain draining nicely. These are also handy if you happen to have an elevated drain, and we'll show you one of those in a second, because it does happen to be on a few sites here at the campground. So these are handy, but as you notice, today I'm not using it. With the 10-foot, we have decent slope right to the drain, and it's not required. So what I'm going to do now is we'll stop the camera, we'll reposition it, and we'll show you what the hookups look like. Okay, so just before we get started with the hookup to the sewer portion, I'm going to place a picture of an elevated drain right here in the video so that you can see what an elevated drain looks like and why the Sidewinder could be handy in using it. Now, these drain caps can come in several different forms. I've seen plastic pipes with a screw-on cap. These are the fancier footloose sewer caps, and they're basically, you're able to open them with your foot. The nice thing about that is if the last camper wasn't very experienced or had dirtied up the cap, these are easier and cleaner to open. But that's why I suggest a good set of gloves. Now, when you buy a nicer kit, you're going to get this elbow with the semi-clear end on it. And the part that's handy because you'll be able to see in the background the liquids as they're draining. Now, typically what you want to do with this cap, so if you have the foot loose, you can simply take it, lift it up, push it out of the way. You are going to get a bit of a smell here. Now, it does have a threading on it, so you can typically put it down and then give it a gentle twist to actually thread it right on. Sometimes it doesn't want to catch, so it takes a little bit of finessing. Place it on, thread it there, and then that helps hold it in place. And that's handy when you have a volume of water that is actually coming through, because it will hold it in place rather than potentially popping up. Now, a lot of dealers will give you a basic sewer hose, a little foam ring like this that you would insert there, push in your sewer hose, and this is what would hold it. This is why spending a few dollars extra on some good equipment will serve you well over the long term. Now, Bella Vista RV in Oromodonte sells these type of hoses and equipment. If you have a more entry level, or if you've just purchased your unit from them and you're using this video as a learning tool, they have this equipment available that you can go in and purchase and upgrade to. If you're seeing the video before your purchase, ask them about putting a package together for you. So anyways, we screw that together. What I'm going to do is reposition the camera, and we're going to do this a few times. I'm going to show you what the hookup on the RV is like, and then we're actually going to dump one of the tanks so that you can see a live demonstration. So we'll be right back. Okay, so now we're going to show you how to actually hook it up. Now, we've been camping for a few days and I've been waiting for some decent weather because we've had a little bit of rain and overcast, so it hasn't been great for shooting. So we've already been hooked up, or I've been hooked up itself, because when you get to the campground, I like to hook up the dump hose. Depending on how many people you're camping with and you know, the water usage you're going through, you may fill one of your gray tanks, and then you know, you don't want to have to come out late at night because somebody's taking a shower or they've been washing some dishes, and all of a sudden you're getting the notice that your tank is full and you're racing out here in the dark to try to do that. So one of the first things I do when I get into a campground is set up my unit, level it, hook up power. We'll bring that to you in another video, and then I like to hook up our sewer hose so it's ready to go. If we're showering and we haven't watched the water levels and all of a sudden we're getting those signs that the tank needs to be dumped, it's as simple as coming out and pulling a lever, which makes things super, super easy. Now, so there may be a little bit of residual water here already, so I'm just going to do this carefully. So what we have here is you have several clips on, or nibs on, your actual drain itself, and your sewer hose simply comes up, you place it flat on, and then you turn it. Now, the cheaper hoses will only have two typically arms of these arms, and I'll bring one over closer to you so you can see. Typically would only have two of these type of arms, one on each side to hold it on. When you buy a better clip, you're going to notice there are 4 of them. So you get a much better grip on the actual dump station itself, and there's less risk of damaging any of your equipment because it's snugly turning on. So place your hose, line up the little hooks with the nibs here, give it a good turn. So I'm going to lower my hand so you can see what's happening. You give it a good turn, it snugs into place because there is a spot for each of the nibs to sit, and you can see it's on really, really well. Now, on your unit, depending on whether you have a rear bath, a front bath, two gray tanks, like our unit has 2 gray tanks, but the manufacturer hooks them all up to one dump station, versus some manufacturers these days have 2 different dump stations. You may need to either get a second set of hoses with a Y connector to run both over to one dump station, or dump one set of tanks, unhook, go over, set up your second set of tanks. Now, the easy part is when we pull our valves at the side of your unit, and I'm going to just turn our camera a little bit here so that you'll be able to see. Right here we actually have marked gray tank, black tank, and then further back is another gray tank handle. Also, when you look underneath, the handles are going to actually be gray in color for your gray tank, black in color for your black tank. I'm going to reposition the camera so you'll be able to see what the hose does when it's dumping. You won't see me pulling the handle. The handle is simply a nice straight pull outwards. When it's finished, you push it inwards. Very straightforward. But I want you to see the velocity of the water as it drains. So we're going to reposition the camera, and then we will actually dump some of the tank here. All right, I've repositioned it so you can see the hose right from the hookup right down to the sewer hookup itself. And you're going to see it's fairly loose right now because it's pretty much empty. And I'm going to actually show you how we dump and what the hose will react like, so that you know for the first time that you're doing this if you're new to RVing. So what you want to do is, we're going to dump the gray tank right now, part of the gray, but what you really want to be doing is dump your black tank first, because that has all your waste and your solids. And then dump your gray tank, which flushes out any remnants that are in the hose so that your hose is cleaner after you're done. Now, if you're camping and you've been using your showers and your sinks, that's going to be most of your water consumption. You're somewhere on a location like we are for multiple days to a week, and you're going to need to dump your gray tank at some point. Come out, dump your gray only. Dump your black only when you have to, which is typically at the end of your stay, because the black tank doesn't fill up as quickly as the gray does. And you want to leave your black tank to fill up as much as possible so that when you flush that tank out, it will flush everything through. You don't want to have very little water in the black tank. So the question that you should be asking yourself is, what if I only go for a 2-day weekend and I haven't really used a lot in the black tank? It's not even at a quarter full yet. You have two choices. Either make sure you're using more water to get water into that black tank, or dump it and then flush it with your black tank flush, which is going to be the last part of this video, or just leave it. If you're planning to go away the following weekend, then continue using your black tank. Ideally, you should not dump your black tank unless you get to at least the 3/4 mark. You want to have enough volume in that black tank so that when you pull the gate valve, you're going to have a gush of water. Well, I'm going to call it water. You know what it is in your black tank from your toilet. A gush of the liquids coming through your hose, carrying any and all solids from the tank down into the sewer septic bed. Okay? So the dump process for gray and black is basically the same. So I'm going to pull the gray out a bit and let you see what it's like. As soon as you pull it, you're going to start to hear a gush. You'll start seeing the hose moving, and you're going to hear that water running. Whether it's your black tank with your solids or the gray, you're going to hear it running. And when it stops running, you'll hear it, the sound fall off to a trickle. The hose, as you can see here, I'm going to hold my finger still. You can see the hose is jumping around a little bit. That will stop. You know pretty much your gray tank is empty. If you have an app-based system, check your phone app. See if it's reading that the tank is empty. If you don't, and you have your monitor system is in your RV, go inside your RV and check it in there. Now, I'm not going to dump the entire tank because I want to be able to close this and show you when I close it that if for some reason something went wrong, maybe you didn't hook this up properly or the sewer portion wasn't hooked up properly, you can close the gate valve very quickly and the water, whether it be your gray or your black tank, stops running. Now, let's reposition the camera. We'll bring you over to get a closer look at the black tank flush, because that is a very handy system to have on your RV, and I'll explain how to use it and the benefits of using it. I've repositioned the camera here so you get a closer view of what a black tank flush is going to look like. Now, on a lot of RVs, this is your typical hookup. We have our fresh water hooked up to our city water connection. We have our satellite connectors here. Now, you may have an outside shower, or like we have here, a high pressure spray port. It looks like that when it's closed. And then you're going to have this little connector here. And typically just above it or just below it, there's this little sticker, as we see here, that says, "Caution, do not use tank flush valve unless the full way termination valve is in the open position." So I'm going to explain that in layman's terms for you in a second. But to hook up what you want to do is pop this little cap off. You can hook up a hose here. Now there is a valve that is supposed to keep anything from your black tank running back, but I'm going to tell you what I do is I purchase, and you can use a garden hose here. I always purchase a secondary hose, or take a garden hose that I've purchased or an extra one that I have at home, and it's used only for the black tank flush. I do not like to use my drinking water hose here on a black tank flush. Now, many dealers will tell you that, you know, there is a valve inside that keeps anything from running back to the hose, but I always like to err on the side of caution. Basically what happens, you pop this top off, you screw on your hose just as we have here on our fresh water. And this is great to do after you've disconnected your fresh water. When you're packing up, you hook up that hose, spare hose, to the black tank flush. Now before you turn the water on, what you should be doing is going down and opening your black tank valve again. So you've dumped your black tank, you've dumped your gray tanks, or you may hold off on dumping your grays until you flushed, which is normally what I do. Dump your black, hook up your black tank flush here, open the black tank valve again, go over to your water faucet, turn it on, and you will start to hear water running. And inside your black tank is a sprayer. That's what this is hooked up to. And that sprayer will spray water inside the black tank to flush out hopefully any toilet paper, any solids that might be sitting there. And this is a great thing to be in the habit of using when you're camping to help keep your tanks nice and clean. Now, you want to make sure, this is super, super, super important, make sure that black tank valve is opened all the time, anytime water is hooked up to your black tank flush. If you do not, you risk doing serious harm to your unit. And I cannot tell you countless stories of campers that have forgotten this. The reason you need your black tank open is if you do not open it, you walk away from your unit, you forget that you've had the water on, and there's nowhere for the water to drain, this will fill your black tank, but it will not stop when it's full. It will, if you're lucky, back up into the toilet. And you'll get dirty water running from the toilet into your washroom floor. But more likely, it is going to back up as well into your black tank vent. What a lot of RVers do not know, especially if you're new, is there is a vent from your black tank up to your roof, so that as it's filling, what air has to escape that tank. When you dump, it needs air to go into the tank so that it can properly drain. Now, if that vent was not there, it's like trying to empty a Coke bottle upside down. It will empty, but you get that swoosh of Coke out, and then a glunk, because it's pulling air inside the bottle, and then out comes more Coke or water, and then you get that glunk sucking air in. You don't want that when you're dumping your RV tanks. So that vent allows air to come in or go out. Hence, if you do not open your gate valve, you risk that it can climb all the way up that pipe and come out on your roof. However, depending on the pressure of the water going in, you may burst a pipe, you may burst a fitting on that line, and it may end up inside your ceiling or your walls. And at that point, you have a majorly damaged RV that is going to be very expensive to repair. So, gate valves dump valves, whatever you want to call them, always must be opened before the water is turned off. Then water gets turned on. Then the water gets turned off before you close the gate valve, so that it gives it a little bit of time to finish draining into the sewer. Okay, so that is our video on hooking up your sewer hose, how to dump your gray and black tanks. For any of you new RVers or those who have purchased used RVs and didn't get a demonstration from your dealer, and or maybe you purchased your unit from your dealer in September, October, January, before you've actually had a chance to go out, and they gave you a demonstration, as Bella Vista does for all their customers. But you've got to remember this 2, 3, 4, 5 months after you've purchased it and received your demonstration. So I hope this video helps you with what equipment you should have, how to hook it up to your RV, how to dump it, and how to use your black tank flush so that you keep your RV in tip-top shape so it smells less through the black tank when you're using it in camping. Anyways, I want to say thank you to the service team at Bella Vista RV in Oromadante. They are fantastic. They look after me well. They've likely pointed you to this video, so I hope that you found it helpful. Please feel free to subscribe to either of my channels. Please click the like button down below. It greatly appreciates us, and let Bella Vista know what you thought of this video if they've pointed you to it here as a refresher for their customers. Thank you guys. I hope to see you out in the campgrounds, and I hope you enjoy your RV. Take care.